Hi, everybody. This is Wendy, and this is Let's Talk About Love. It's been a little while since I've been on. Life has been busy, and honestly, I'm going to confess, I am actually very camera shy. So it takes me a lot to prepare to do these videos. I really just don't know what I'm doing. I'm just kind of doing it. So it's taken me a couple of weeks to try to just prepare some more material to do these videos. It takes a lot to get one out. So here I am. So today I want to talk about breaking cycles. So what we're discovering out there in society is a lot of dysfunction and a lot of narcissism and um, codependency and just a lot of dysfunction. And we're with these generational trauma and generational curses almost, where you're seeing a lot of abuse being passed down through the family, a lot of toxic traits, a lot of just bad habits, addictions, um, just dysfunction going from generation to generation. And it's very simple how that works. You have two children. You yourself probably has gone through abuse and toxic cycles, seeing toxic relationships, lots of addictions. You have two children. You pass a lot of that down, even if you're not as bad as the generation that raised you. You have all the new influences such as technology and other people in your life and things that create new behaviors because it's a new society. And so you're passing that down to your children. If they have two, three, four children of their own, now there's 4 to 8 children passing that down. And each generation, they're passing that down. So I think it's really important that we start considering breaking these cycles, these generational traumas, these generational curses that just keep making our world a little more difficult to deal with and navigate, especially for our offspring. So, you know, um, this is where I'm putting on the huge importance of healing. Could we just sit in our own pain and our anger and heal for our children, so that they're not spending the rest of their life healing from us and then passing it down to their children. And that cycle just keeps going over and over. And then your own personal cycles, you know, if you've seen that your parents were in a toxic relationship, your grandparents were in toxic relationships, maybe they had addictions, maybe they committed crimes, maybe they, you know, whatever dysfunction that it has, could we make the effort, just not for ourselves, but for our children, to heal that? Some people can do it themselves. Some people need therapy. Some people need medication, whatever it is. But that we're making better choices and being better examples for our children, for them to have healthier upbringings and living healthier adult lives, making healthier decisions, and raising healthier children who then will have healthier grandchildren and great grandchildren, and really start shaping this world to be a much healthier, brighter place. For me, my thing has been um, toxic relationships, some addictions. Dealing with mental health things that were genetic, and also in my life, the traumas and stuff like that shaped how those mental health conditions shaped my life. So one of the things I'm definitely working on is the inner healing of trauma from my childhood, trauma that I've been exposed to throughout my life, and the decision to repeat toxic behavior cycles. And what I'm finding for myself is, you know, um, like I was celibate for 14 years. I was very ill physically. I was dealing with mental health issues. And, as I started really strongly recovering from all that, I got into a couple of relationships and learned that, wow, I was really attracting toxicity, it's a toxic people, And in the one relationship, I had never had anything toxic like that, not in that way, And there was the red flags, there was, the things that put me in pause, But I still kept going more out of curiosity, And I let it go so far, I had the red flags popping up, and I was ignoring them, and I was in my own illusion of where I thought I was at, and going off of what I wanted or what I thought I wanted, and then I had enough and I just cut that off. Then the next relationship, you go and you see that field and there's just these little red buds, they're not red flags yet, and you think they're flowers, they're little red buds. Ooh, how pretty, and everything's going great, and you think it's this one thing, it's this illusion, and I allow myself to see that illusion, and then little things happen, and all of a sudden I look in the field and those little red buds flowered into red flags, and I cut it off right there, you know what I mean? And my next relationship may still have some toxic traits to it, but, when I see those little red buds, I hope that I just run then, you know what I mean? And the point is to, stopping the cycle by seeing things quickly, and then making a decision to change that right away. You know what I mean? And then the goal is to hopefully just start attracting what you actually want, And I mean, I have my own toxic traits, I have a temper, I don't have the perfect, healthiest lifestyle, but I'm improving that every day. I have a healthy diet. I have, things like that. But I like my alcohol and other things. But, um, I'm working on my own toxic traits so that hopefully when I'm searching to attract somebody that is healthy for me, that I'm also the person for them that they wanted to attract that is also healthy. You know what I mean? And then whatever healing you're doing, you can do together because you're already in a good space, to support each other. You don't have one carrying all the weight, you know. Nobody wants to be here to regulate anybody's emotions. You don't want to you don't want to raise anybody as an adult. You certainly don't want to take place of their mother or their father and have to carry or you know um, take care of somebody or help raise somebody that's just not there yet. You know what I mean? So if you're finding that you're, repeating cycles in relationships, um, or your own personal toxic traits, you know, um, you want to really pay attention, how far are you letting it go, and stop that. And, if you're finding that you're leading into it again, stop it sooner and then stop it sooner, and then, you know, hopefully come to that point where you're attracting what you actually really want. But you have to be in that space yourself. You have to be healthy yourself. And, it's never going to be perfect, but you always want to strive for it, and I'm really working hard on myself, because I'm also responsibility for my failure of the toxic relationships, and it starts with me, you know, um, but it's also what I tolerated and what I refuse to see, you know, and if you're the type of person that has toxic behavior, if you're the type of person that cheats on your partner, and then you find you lost the partner that was probably the love of your life, you know, um, then you want to heal that part of yourself. You may never get that person back. You know what I mean? You may never get the love of your life back. That's the consequence of your behavior. But you can get the help you need, whether it's therapy, self reflection, medicate, whatever it is that makes you want to behave in a certain way that you're self sabotaging. Some people get into these relationships where they found the perfect person, but they have not healed the toxicity in themselves. And so, they repeat the behavior, they repeat the cycles that they know, and then they lose the person. But if you don't heal that and you don't change those toxic traits, you're just going to continue that throughout life. and you may lose a few love of your lives, you know. So healing that and changing that toxic behavior can make it better for the next person, you know. And if you're abusive, you know, if you're physically or mentally or emotionally abusive, you know, I would definitely suggest getting help. You know, that's often something that's hard to do on your own. You know what I mean? So that not only are you attracting more of what you want, but that you're a better partner for the next person. And if you're going to have children, you know, so that you're passing down better traits and teaching your children that this kind of toxic behavior is not acceptable from me or for you to do in the future. You know, you know, it starts with us. I think if we start, you know, healing ourselves, no matter what stage we are in life, whether you're partnered up already with somebody, or you have children or grandchildren, or anything like that, it's never too late to start your healing journey and make a great influence on everybody that you touch in your life, or find that you need to remove people from your life, you know, and start over. It's never too late to start over, you know. So as I'm working on myself, you know, I'm looking to attract somebody in kind, you know, that is at my level of healing and thinking and in emotional balance, you know. And like I said, I'm still a work in progress. It's you know, I'm not perfect. You know, I have to work on my anger. I have to work on how I respond to hurtful things, you know, but I'm also doing myself a great service by not inviting more toxicity and allowing things to happen that trigger a lot of that inside me. You know, what is it about me that is attracting these things? Well, because I have more healing to do, you know. So, you know, I guess I'm sharing this because we owe it to our future generations, you know, to start somewhere. You know, I'm finding that society as a whole is getting I don't know how to describe it, but I'm sure many of you can see, you know, and it's, you know, this generational curse, this generational trauma that we're passing down, and we're responsible to stop it. You know, we have to take responsibility somewhere. It's not her job, it's not their job, it's your job, it's my job. You know, it starts somewhere. So if we heal our own trauma, and if we find that self love, and we can show people what that's like, and we treat people accordingly, you know, because you have it for yourself. If you have it for yourself, it kind of exudes. You're going to treat other people that way, you know, and then they treat other people that way, and they treat other people that way, and we show our children what healthy looks like, you know. And thinking faster than I can speak, you know, we can turn things around before it gets worse. I don't know how much worse it can get out there. You know, all I know is that it's just, we need more healing. You know, I need more healing. Everybody needs to do their healing. They need to do the work. And when you do the work, I'm shaking because I'm, you know, camera shy. Um, if we do the inner work, you know, your shadow work, you know, facing your own demons, you know, and you know, you don't have to banish your demons. You name them, you make them kneel before you, and you make them your footstool. That's what healing is. You know, um, we can break these cycles. You know, we can stop these generational cycles, and it doesn't happen all at once. It may not happen all in this one lifetime, because everybody in that circle, everybody in that family is responsible to be doing the same work. But, you know, just one person's got to start. Just one, you know, and for me, I'm doing it, you know, and I don't know. I always have so much to say, and you know, being shy on camera, I lose a lot of it, and I think so fast that you know, um, I don't know. I guess I'm gonna leave it there. But you know, leave comments in below. You know, tell me what you think. Tell me what you're working on. You know, ask questions if you have any. Um, yeah, I'm going to leave it right here. All right. I love everybody. I hope to get the videos out more consistently um, and more quickly. I'm trying to figure out whatever this is that I'm trying to do. So I hope everybody's having an amazing day. I love you all. This is Wendy. This is Let's Talk About Healing. No, it's not. It's Let's Talk About Love while we're healing. All right. Everybody have a good day. Signing out.